I'm here at the Brandywine River Museum of Art to introduce this episode of Roundtable Talks. The question comes from Cameron Truett, who's a guard here at the museum, and he asks, how did you all get involved with Renaissance festivals? Well, Cameron, let's see what we had to say.
Well, I actually didn't start in the joust with the Renaissance festivals. I started out as a pubber. I used to take my kids to the Oklahoma Renaissance Festival every year and just waiting for them to say, hey Mom, there are kids here, how do we do this, or can we play? And it took forever. But they finally one year said, hey Mom, can we do this? Because there's other kids. And so we went to one of the little meetings and asked them how to do it, and we got involved. And they put me into the Blackboard pub. And I spent a year in that pub, and then spent a year in the Belladonna pub, and then I met a jouster. I met Sir Richard and had my first jouster crush, my only jouster crush, and just started hanging out more and more around the horses and watching them do their thing, and was fascinated by it and noticed that there weren't any girls out there except for squires. So Rick agreed to train me, and Paul agreed to let me have a shot. And so with their supervision and instruction and a lot of time and dedication, here I am. So I don't really have an exciting story. I was a Renaissance Festival person and fell in love with a jouster and fell into a really great joust company with heroic knights of old. So that's how I got started into jousting.
I was actually trying to be a competitive fencer, and I was working at getting better and so that I could compete. And I found out that as a competitive fencer, I couldn't devote the time and the energy needed to be good enough to really go on and really get anywhere with it. But I really enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. But I met a guy there named Cash, who was the king of the fair in Norman. And in talking with him, I said, how did you get involved in that? And he told me his story about meeting all these people and doing all this, and he said, I need a bodyguard. And since at the time I was a policeman, that was just right up my alley. So I made an outfit. I made chainmail, which was crazy, and it weighed so much I thought I was going to die walking around. And I went out there and I played his bodyguard. I played a knight, and I protected him and his little crowd from the people that were, well, mainly on Kids Day, that were going crazy, these teenagers that were getting a little too handsy with his group. From there, I met some more people, and we started going to other medieval fairs and being hired to play street characters. I did that for about a year, and then I met a jousting group, and a guy named Brian taught me to joust. I became involved in that. I probably worked for Brian for 15 years, somewhere in that range. And then met Amy, and then married Amy, and Amy wanted to joust and wanted to be a part of the group and not just be a squire on the field. So with Brian's group, his rule was definitely couldn't have a female knight on the field, and I wanted her there. So Paul and I, quite by accident, Paul started his own company, called me and asked if I would work for him. And I said I would, and it was perfect because he would allow Amy to work as a knight. So we trained and worked together with Amy. I have my own horses. We have 3 horses, Titan, Rex, and Max. And that is how we became part of the heroic Knights of Old.
So, as you can see, getting involved in Renaissance festivals is a life-changing event. So how did a young, enthusiastic, talented, up-and-coming music education major change to this and all of this glory? Well, as always, it has to do with a girl. At the time, the girl I was interested in was dating my best friend. But she invited me to come out to this thing called a Renaissance fair. And I'd never heard of it. But I was interested in Dungeons and Dragons, you know, the evil game. And other things fantasy related. Lord of the Rings. And it sounded interesting. So I did what most people do, and that was stay up all night making my first costume. And when we went, I became enamored of the place. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It was theater that was in your face, 8 hours worth, and amazing characters. I'd always hated history when I was a kid, because it was really boring. But once I got involved with the Renaissance Festival, I found out these were real people with real stories, and it was really interesting. So I started working at the Renaissance Festival, and while there I started doing drums for the joust. And once I started really watching the joust, I realized what a unique thing it was. Here was a handful of modern day knights who were getting to work with horses all day long and perform for thousands of people and share this passion they had. And to be honest, I don't think it gets any better than that. So it took me years of pestering the knights that were there to teach me because they liked my drumming too much. But finally I did get a chance to train and joust, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I get to work with these great animals. And I get to inspire people to go out and live their own dreams. So, following a girl and pursuing a dream, that's how I got involved with Renaissance festivals and jousting. And there you have it, our origin stories. Remember, look us up on Facebook, The Heroic Knights of Old, or if you have a question for Roundtable Talks, email it to us at heroicknightsofold@yahoo.com. See you next episode.